Welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be tackling The Art of Problem Solving
Okay.
by Rusczyk and Sandor Lehoczky.
Right.
And
Well, that's like fun.
I know what you might be thinking, math,
Yeah.
but trust me, this isn't your typical textbook.
Definitely not.
Oh.
No, this book is really less about memorizing formulas
Yeah.
and more about building a problem-solving mindset that you can
Okay.
apply to, well, pretty much anything.
Okay. That's intriguing.
Yeah.
So how does the book actually, do that?
Okay.
What makes its approach so unique?
One thing that really struck me was how it encourages you to learn different areas of math at the same time, like algebra, geometry, number theory.
Okay.
They all start to connect in ways you wouldn't expect.
I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing math as all these separate boxes,
Yeah.
you start to understand the bigger picture, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. The book uses really clever notation to help with that,
Okay.
like using the symbols
Right.
to represent the greatest integer function. It's like a visual reminder of what's actually happening.
Ah, so the notation itself has meaning instead of just being arbitrary symbols.
Exactly.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But I've also heard this book is part of a whole learning ecosystem.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Is that?
There are online classes that go from basic math all the way up to competition level.
Wow.
Plus a huge online forum.
Okay.
Imagine over 130,000 people
Oh,
discussing math problems
that's a lot of people.
and helping each other out.
Wow. That's quite the community.
It is. Yeah.
Speaking of competitions,
Yes.
the book also mentions the American Mathematics Competitions, or AMC.
Right, the AMC.
Right.
Yes. Those are a series of increasingly difficult tests
Okay.
that can ultimately lead to the selection of the United States mathematics team. The book even mentions the Math Olympiad summer program,
Okay.
which is the training ground for the math Olympians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this book isn't just for casual math enthusiasts then?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
While it's definitely helpful for those preparing for competitions,
Right.
the problem-solving techniques that it teaches are valuable for anyone.
Yeah.
Even if you're just trying to figure out the
Yeah.
most efficient way to pack your suitcase.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But with such a wide range of topics, right?
Yeah.
How does the book keep things engaging?
Okay.
Does it just throw a bunch of formulas at you?
Not at all.
Okay.
The book is full of interesting examples and problems
yeah.
that illustrate the concepts in a really fun way. Did you know you can use logarithms
Why?
to understand musical scales?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Math and music?
Yeah, it's true.
That's a connection I never would have made.
The book shows you
Wow.
how to calculate the musical note.
Okay.
It corresponds to a specific frequency ratio. It really highlights the hidden harmony in math.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So that we've got logarithms in music. What other cool topics does the book cover?
Well, it delves into trigonometry.
Okay.
But it goes beyond just right triangles.
Okay.
The book explores graphs, identities, and even uses geometric visualization to prove those identities.
Yeah.
It's like seeing math come to life, literally.
I'm starting to see why this book is called The Art of Problem Solving.
Yeah.
It's not just about crunching numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding the beauty and elegance of math.
Absolutely.
Right.
And speaking of elegant solutions,
Yeah.
the book has a really clever way of tackling the classic handshake problem
Okay.
using counting techniques.
The handshake problem.
Yeah.
Remind me what that is again.
Okay, so it's the one where you figure out how many handshakes would occur
Okay.
if everyone in a room shook hands with everyone else.
Right.
It seems simple at first,
Yeah.
but it can quickly get complicated as the number of people increases.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I remember struggling with that one in school.
Yeah.
So how does the book make it easier to understand?
Well, it used a technique
Okay.
called one-to-one correspondence
Mm.
to simplify the problem.
Oh,
Essentially, it helps you visualize the problem
okay.
in a way that makes the solution much clearer.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So instead of relying on brute force calculation,
Right.
you find a more elegant solution through clever visualization.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's just one example of
Yeah.
how this book approaches problem solving. It encourages you to think outside the box and to find creative solutions.
This is already making me want to grab a copy and start exploring.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else can you tell us?
Well, it also delves into
Yeah.
some pretty interesting areas like conic sections. You know those shapes like parabolas, ellipses, and hyperbolas?
I vaguely remember them from geometry class.
Well, the book brings them to life with real-world examples.
Okay.
Like, imagine a goat
Okay.
tied to a stake in a field shaped like an ellipse.
Okay.
How do you calculate the area the goat can graze?
That's a much more interesting way to think about conic sections than just abstract shapes on a graph.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of this book.
Yeah.
It finds ways to connect seemingly abstract math concepts to the real world.
So we've covered logarithms, trigonometry, counting techniques, and conic sections, all in part 1.
I know, right?
I'm really starting to see the depth and breadth of this book.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore, from complex numbers and polynomials to sequences and series and even graph theory.
I'm already hooked. This deep dive is proving to be a real eye-opener.
It is, yeah. It's a really fascinating book.
It is. Welcome back. I'm still buzzing from our last segment.
Oh, yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Math could be so musical.
It's amazing how many connections you start to see when you delve into the art of problem solving.
Right. It's not just about learning formulas. It's about understanding like the underlying principles and how they apply in different contexts.
Exactly.
Right.
Speaking of which, we were just talking about conic sections and that goat in a field example. That really sparked my curiosity.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a clever illustration, but I'm wondering how understanding conic sections actually helps solve real-world problems beyond calculating a goat's grazing area.
Okay. Well, think about satellite dishes or headlights. They're shaped like parabolas for a reason.
Right.
The parabolic shape focuses incoming signals or light to a single point, which is essential for their function.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the shape itself has a practical application based on the mathematical properties of parabolas.
Exactly.
Wow.
And elliptical shapes are used in things like whispering galleries, where sound waves bounce off the walls in a specific way.
So we've got music, goats, satellites, and whispering galleries.
Yeah.
All thanks to conic sections.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
And the book goes on to explore even more fascinating topics, like complex numbers.
Complex numbers.
I'll admit, complex numbers always seemed a bit intimidating to me.
I get it.
Like something only super geniuses could understand.
But the book does a great job of demystifying them.
Okay.
What's key is understanding that complex numbers aren't just some abstract concept. They have real practical applications in fields like electrical engineering and signal processing.
So it's not just theoretical math.
Absolutely.
There's actual real-world relevance.
For example, complex numbers are essential for understanding AC circuits, which is how electricity is delivered to our homes and businesses.
Wow, that's putting complex numbers in a whole new light for me.
Yeah.
What else does the book cover?
Well, one thing that caught my eye was the discussion of infinite series. It's a topic that can really trip people up. But the book provides clear explanations and helpful examples.
I remember struggling with infinite series in calculus.
Yeah.
The idea of adding up an infinite number of terms always felt mind-boggling.
Right. And one of the key insights the book highlights is that not all infinite series can be neatly summed up. Sometimes the sum diverges, meaning it grows infinitely large.
That's a good reminder that even in math,
Right.
there are mysteries yet to be unraveled.
Exactly. And speaking of challenging our assumptions, the book also delves into set theory and the concept of infinity. It's fascinating how the authors explain that seemingly different sets can actually have the same size, even when one seems infinitely larger than the other.
That definitely bends the mind a bit.
Yeah.
It shows how our intuition about infinity can differ from the mathematical reality.
For sure. And that theme of challenging our assumptions carries over to the discussion of geometric constructions. For centuries, mathematicians attempted to solve certain problems using only a straight edge and compass, like doubling the cube or trisecting an angle.
I vaguely remember hearing about those problems. Were they ever solved?
It turns out they're actually impossible to solve
Wow.
using only those tools.
Really?
Mathematicians in the 1800s finally proved that certain constructions just can't be done.
That's surprising. It shows the importance of rigorous proof in math.
Right.
And how even seemingly simple problems can have hidden complexities.
Absolutely. And from geometric constructions,
Okay.
the book takes us into the world of graph theory.
Graph theory. That sounds a bit abstract.
Think about social media networks.
Go.
Each person is a node.
Okay.
And their connections to others are the edges.
Oh.
Graph theory can help us understand how information spreads through those networks or identify influential individuals.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So it's not just theoretical.
Right.
It has applications in understanding real-world social dynamics.
Precisely. And one of the intriguing concepts explored in the book is the four-color theorem.
Okay.
Which states that any map can be colored using only 4 colors.
Okay.
So that no 2 adjacent regions have the same color.
That sounds simple enough.
Yeah.
But I imagine proving it mathematically was quite a feat.
You're right. It took mathematicians over a century. Wow.
To finally prove it.
Wow.
And they needed the help of computers to do so in the 1970s.
Really?
It's a testament to the power of collaboration.
Yeah.
And how math problems can sometimes take decades, even centuries to solve.
That's a great example of how math is a constantly evolving field.
Right.
Speaking of collaboration, I'm reminded of the book's emphasis on the art of problem-solving community.
Oh, yeah.
It's great that they have that online forum and those classes where students can connect and learn from each other.
It's true. Math doesn't have to be a solitary pursuit.
Right.
In fact, some of the most challenging problems are best tackled collaboratively, where different perspectives and approaches can lead to breakthroughs.
This deep dive is really showing me a whole new side of math.
Yeah.
It's collaborative, creative, and full of surprises.
And that's just the beginning.
Oh, really?
In the next part, we'll explore how the problem-solving techniques
we've discussed can be applied to challenges in all aspects of life, not just math problems.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the art of problem solving.
Yeah.
You know, after exploring all these fascinating topics, I'm realizing this book is about so much more than just math.
It is. You're absolutely right. It's really about developing a problem-solving mindset that you can apply to any challenge, whether it's in your personal life, your work, or even just trying to assemble that frustrating piece of furniture with the vague instructions.
I love that. It's like giving your brain a toolkit for tackling any obstacle.
Exactly.
But for those of us who aren't like natural-born problem solvers, you know, how does the book actually help develop that mindset?
Well, one key takeaway is the importance of breaking down a complex problem into smaller, more manageable steps. It's a classic strategy, but the book really emphasizes how powerful it can be.
I could see how that would make things less overwhelming.
Yeah.
Instead of facing this like giant intimidating problem, you're tackling bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And once you have those smaller pieces, the book encourages you to like identify the key information, to separate the signal from the noise, and to develop a clear plan of attack.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But even with a plan, some problems can still feel pretty daunting, right?
Yeah. What advice does the book offer?
One thing it stresses is the importance of experimentation.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to try different approaches, even if they seem a bit unconventional.
Okay.
Sometimes the most elegant solution comes from thinking outside the box.
So it's about embracing that sense of playfulness and not being afraid to like make mistakes along the way.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mistakes are just opportunities to learn and refine your approach.
Okay.
And speaking of learning from others, the book also emphasizes the value of collaboration.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Sometimes just talking through a problem with someone else can spark new ideas or reveal a solution you hadn't considered before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bouncing ideas off others.
Right.
Whether it's a colleague, a friend, or even someone in the art of problem-solving online community can provide valuable insights and fresh perspectives.
This deep dive has been such an eye-opener. The art of problem solving is clearly so much more than a math textbook. It's a guide to developing like essential life skills. A passport to a vibrant community of learners. And an invitation to embrace the joy of tackling challenges head on.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's a book that can change the way you approach problems in all aspects of your life.
So to our listeners,
if you're looking to sharpen your problem-solving skills, whether you're a student, a professional, or simply someone who enjoys a good mental workout, we highly recommend checking out the art of problem solving.
And remember, as the authors say,
okay,
the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics.
Hmm.
So go forth,
Yeah.
embrace the challenge,
Right.
and have fun with it.
That's great advice.
Thanks.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed exploring the art of problem solving with us.
Yeah, me too.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp and those problem-solving muscles flexed.